In the full-size luxury sedan space, the Mercedes-Benz S-Class is the king. Not only is this model the bestseller, but it also enjoys among the highest owner loyalty rates in the segment. Now, one vehicle that really challenged Mercedes and forced the other German brands to build better quality cars was Lexus with the original LS back in the 1990s. Now, back in 2018, Lexus completely redesigned the LS, moving it to its fifth generation, introducing a new global architectural luxury platform. And this vehicle was pretty competitive when it came out. However, the current model has definitely gotten a little long in the tooth, which is why Lexus is making some changes to the LS for 2021. As you can see, I've got this LS 500 right behind me now. The vehicle has been revised with new styling on the outside, a slightly updated interior tech, and revisions to the suspension, the transmission, and even the engine to make this vehicle even smoother this year. Now, keep in mind, both Acura and Infiniti have pulled out of the flagship luxury sedan space, leaving the LS to be the only player if you guys are looking for a Japanese full-size luxury sedan. So if that's exactly what you want, how does this new Lexus LS stack up? Stay tuned to find out. So let's start with what's going on underneath the hood of the current generation Lexus LS. Now, Lexus made a big controversial change for this generation because they got rid of the V8 engines in the previous generation and replaced it with an all V6 only lineup. Now, in typical Lexus fashion, the engine compartment is very well finished. It looks like it has almost like its own little, photography area because of how well the engine covers are placed to hide all those ugly wires. But what you're going to find underneath the hood of this LS 500 is a 3.4 liter twin turbocharged direct injection V8. Yes, even though Lexus likes to call it a 3.5 liter, by displacement, it's really like a 34-45 cc engine. So it's really a 3.4 liter twin turbo engine. It still continues to make 416 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque. This is obviously more powerful than the previous generation's V8, and Lexus says it should get better gas mileage. Lexus is claiming 0 to 60 performance is 4.6 seconds for this model here. If you guys want, you can also add in all-wheel drive for about $2,300 extra for all-wheel drive. Now, if you guys prefer something electrified, there's still the LS 500H, which marries a 3.5 liter V6 naturally aspirated with 3 electric motors with your choice of either rear or all-wheel drive. That model offers 354 horsepower, so it's the downgraded engine compared to this model. Now, all of the LS 500s with the gas engine have a 10-speed automatic transmission. This is a Toyota Lexus developed transmission. And like I said earlier, it's been revised this year with new gear ratios, slightly better tuning. The engine also has new pistons to give you a smoother operation, especially at low speeds. And fuel economy, in case you're wondering, is rated at 18 in the city and 29 on the highway. Please be sure to put premium gas in this car. And in case you're curious about the weight, this is a big boy luxury sedan. And as this one sits, it weighs in at around 4,700 pounds. Now, closing the hood, let's look at the styling of the refreshed LS. You can see this particular one here does not have the F-Sport package. So instead we have the luxury lined package. That big spindle grille continues to dominate the front. And my tester has the premium triple beam LED headlights. However, if you look at the headlights, they are a slightly new design this year, as opposed to having 2 separate pieces. Now it's just one continuous piece. This is a much better look to me, along with this slightly revised front fascia. If you guys go for the F-Sport model, you'll have the intricate L's with like a mesh texture finish in the grille, which gives it a slightly sportier edge. No fog lights on this model, but you do have these full adaptive LED headlights where you have an LED daytime running light, turn signals, and LED low and high beams. So it's an overall very attractive looking sedan. I think this is better looking versus like a Lexus RX. I think Lexus did a great job with making the styling of this vehicle slightly updated this year to be a little bit more attractive. Now, this vehicle continues to be only offered in the long wheelbase configuration, so there is no short wheelbase, and this is certainly a big sedan. Its wheelbase is 123 inches long, and its overall length is 206 inches long, so this is about on par with the newest generation Mercedes-Benz S-Class. So you can really tell just how big this vehicle actually is. Now, looking at the wheels, my tester has these 20-inch wheels wrapped in 245 tires in the front. They are fatter in the back. These are kind of like the upgraded chrome wheels for like an extra 1,200 bucks. This car, remember, is rear-wheel drive. My tester also has the air suspension, so it'll raise the vehicle up at the touch of a button. And Lexus did revise the suspension tuning this year to give us a slightly more comfortable ride. This particular color is called Manganese Luster. It's a very popular color for the LS buyers. It's kind of like a grayish copper tone to it. Then my tester also has the panoramic sunroof, which love the fact that Lexus is at least offering that. And as you can see here, looking at the rest of the profile, it tries to be a little bit more sleek, a little bit more coupe-like. Although if you look at the rear of this vehicle, it doesn't look like they gave it any changes. It would look good if it had kind of like a little spoiler. The F-Sport models give you that little spoiler. And you can see down here, just a dual outlet exhaust system, which has kind of like an integrated look into the rear bumper, along with these full LED taillights, which kind of have like a Toyota Avalon-ish look to it. This is probably the rear of the car where it looks a little bit too much like a Toyota product for me. I much prefer the front of the vehicle. Now, opening up the trunk area, there's a little button to the side here. You can see the trunk is power operated. You'd expect nothing less from their flagship. And the LS has a surprisingly large trunk. The seat doesn't fold down in a 60/40 manner, but you get around 16.9 cubic feet of space. It's also a well-finished trunk as well. But remember, most people are buying SUVs these days, and the trunk capacity of a sedan really shows its constraints when you compare it, to crossover vehicles, which is why so many Americans are moving to that. So obviously the styling changes on the outside were pretty subtle for the new LS, and that's pretty much the case here when you look at the interior. I don't really like the color combination of mine with this black interior. You can also add, option in a red leather on the F-Sport models. You can also get a brown leather, a more cream colored leather. A cream colored leather would have gone well with this, gray manganese luster exterior as opposed to the black. But regardless, the LS continues to be a very nice place to spend time, which is what you expect from the flagship vehicle of Lexus. Now, as you can see, getting inside and looking at the overall dash layout, it doesn't look all that different from the pre-refreshed model. The thing that stands out the most is this new screen, which has been pushed forward because this is now finally a touchscreen, and they've added Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is a wired connection. You can see here's the key fob for the vehicle. The Lexus key hasn't really changed. They don't offer any kind of digital key just yet. That's part of the newest interface, but you can see the door panel here. My tester has the genuine wood accents. I really like the kind of flowing lines that you get with the genuine leather. It all feels and smells very nice in here, and you can see there's even 3-person memory seats, and the seats adjust in like 24 different ways, and they're massaging with heated and cooled with my particular tester here. Now, when I shut the door, you can either just soft close it and it will close itself for you, or you can also slam it normally and the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, which is what you'd expect in a luxury sedan. The button to fire up the engine is right where you'd expect it to be. And you can see when the vehicle starts up, it has a very nice, typical Toyota Lexus chime. The steering wheel is power tilt and telescoping. This this instrument panel screen is still very small. I believe it's only 7 inches, and you have these traditional dials for the engine temp and the fuel gauge, which looks very dated. I've seen bigger screens in a Hyundai Elantra and a Honda Civic, so Lexus, I'm really disappointed you didn't fix that. As you can see here though, you have finally Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it's not wireless, and it's touchscreen finally, which works well, much better than before. The overall Lexus interface, however, hasn't really changed, and I really wanted them to change this a little bit just to make it a little bit more snappier, make it look a little bit more impressive. As you saw, the map display, the Lexus one doesn't look all that impressive either. It's very, very dated looking. It looks like it belongs in a Toyota. And just the overall interface here, if you go to the climate, this is where you can adjust your 4-zone climate control system. You can also go here to your seat controls where you have heated and ventilated seats. No actual hard buttons. It's all in the actual seat or in the screen over here. And you can also adjust the concierge system here, where you can tell the vehicle to use an ionizer for the cabin system, or you can also adjust the rear seat stuff. Or there's a shortcut button here. If you just push this, you can see this goes to your seat adjustments, where you can adjust them in the actual screen. You can see you can adjust the headrest, you can adjust the bolsters, you can adjust certain aspects of the seat, and then the driver's seat refresh is the massage. So I really like this particular setting here. There's 5 different levels of intensity. It works very well, but again, the graphics look pretty dated. It's just kind of the way it is. And also, another dated aspect in here is the ambient lighting. Yes, there is a little bit of ambient lighting at night, like behind those door pockets there, but you can't change the color, and that's kind of what you expect to find in most newer cars today. So again, there's just certain things about this car. I mean, I like the flowing lines with the real aluminum, the piano black plastic, the wood, although you can get a glass trim for like an extra $5,000, which is a hand-blown glass trim, which definitely makes the interior feel a little bit more impressive. But the tech in here still feels like it's a generation behind, even though they finally fixed this aspect here. Now, my tester also has a digital rear view mirror, which is nice. You can see it gives you a really nice unobstructed view out of the back. When I put the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's the full top-down 360 camera, which the graphics are pretty terrible considering the price of this car. I've seen better graphics in a Hyundai and a Kia and even like a Honda product now. The newer Honda systems have gotten a lot better. This is just really, really annoying how Lexus hasn't updated that. It just looks very, very dated. Down here you can see the knob here for your volume and your tuning. Controls here, hard button controls for your climate control. There's still surprisingly a CD player here. Come on, Lexus, who the heck still uses CDs? And then down here you can see this controls your transmission for the 10-speed auto. It's very Prius-like in its controls. You kick it this way and to the left to go to drive, and then push the P button to go to park. You still have the Lexus touchpad here, which people hate, but at least it's now a touchscreen and it's closer, so I barely use this now. Instead, I just use the touchscreen. This is for your rear window shade. This is for your seat control, so there is a dedicated button here. And this is where you can raise and lower the air suspension. It basically only has either a low or a mid or a high setting, which is to help you get in and out. This right here is nice and padded. This is kind of covered in leather, which is nice. This is also a pretty decent center console with 2 USBs over there. The rest of the interior you can see has stitched leather everywhere, all over the dash, all over the door panels. Window controls also feel really high quality and tactile. There's even like padded felt in the actual door pockets, which is nice. These seats you can see here are the upgraded leather seats. They feel pretty comfortable and supportive, but they just don't look very impressive. I've seen better looking, cushier seats in some of the competitors for sure, which is a little disappointing. Your electronic parking brake is actually over here to the left. It's also an automatic parking brake. You have a cup holder right here with some more of that wood grain trim. Opening this up, you can see the glove compartment is lined in felt and it's damped. It's a pretty deep glove compartment, which is nice. And then above me, you can see plenty of LED lighting that you would expect out of a vehicle like this. And you can also open up the shade here where you can open up just the driver's shade. This is a pano roof, and then there's also a separate shade that's right there for the backseat passengers, which definitely lets in a lot of light. So overall, the front seat interior is roomy and spacious feeling, although the tech in it is such a disappointment, but at least it delivers on the luxury and the build quality that you expect. It even smells nice in here. But there's just certain details that I think Lexus should have addressed, but they probably won't be able to until the next generation comes out. Now moving into the back seat of the new LS, my tester has an executive package that's like upgrades the rear seat into a kind of a vehicle that you basically want to be driven around in. Remember, this only comes in one size configuration, so you'd expect it to offer a really roomy back seat, and it sort of does. You can see, looking at the back seat, this is the seat where you'd want to sit in because these seats, they also are massaging, they're heated and cooled, they offer memory seating, and you can also recline the seats and have an ottoman kind of pop out. Lexus says you get around 39.5 inches of legroom back here, but 39.5 seems a little bit small compared to the segment, but you can see here the 24 speaker Mark Levinson stereo system sounds pretty good, and it has really nice looking speaker covers. That beautiful door panel design carries over here, and you have these little automatic window shades here, which are power. There's actually shades throughout the rear of this vehicle, which does make it feel a lot nicer. Now getting inside, you can see, getting back here and shutting the door, it's still a soft closed door, which is nice. And with this executive package, my tester also has this little screen back here where you can control all the different stuff. So again, I just push this button here. You can see the screens will go up and down, which is nice. It helps to kind of create a little bit of privacy back here. It's all connected and controlled from this little tablet here. You can see the seats are heated and cooled, and I can also adjust the massage function, which is definitely nice. You can also adjust the seat back and whatnot, and this just it looks pretty cool. It works well, although, you know, I expected this screen to kind of be a little bit more impressive looking. I've seen ones where they come out and they have like a little charging tablet where you can hold them. There's no rear seat entertainment system back here. There's no tables. There's no refrigerator that you can get. But you can adjust the seat climate, which is great, and you have your own 4-zone climate control back here. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this seat also slides forward and back. You can see theirs with the seat kind of reclining back, but as it reclines back, look at it, look at the legroom back here. You basically have to have no legs if you want to actually recline the seat back, which is kind of a problem. This particular seat that I'm in here offers a slight solution. So basically, I can push the passenger button there. I can hit this button right here, which will move the passenger seat up and out of the way, which again, there better be nobody sitting there. And then I go to the right seat here, and I basically push this button here, and this will start to recline the seat back, which is nice. It gives you a really nice lay-back style back here, but my tester is missing the ottoman because it doesn't technically have the massaging seats. It doesn't have the full-on executive rear seat package, so I can basically just adjust the seat recline, or adjust it up and down, or adjust the heated and cooled seat. But for like an extra $5 grand, it is missing that feature. You can see it's a little bit hard to get used to there, but push that little button here. You can see my seat goes back to the upright position and this passenger seat moves back. So again, this back seat is nice, but it's just not as nice as what I've seen from the competition. And this screen here, it looks okay until you again look at the competition. It's just all very dated looking. Now over here, you can see there's a center console storage area with 2 USB ports. There's 2 cup holders over here, which is nice. You have rear seat air vents. There's another 110 power outlet there. If you want to put this seat back up, you can see there is a center seat here, so you can have 5 people back here, which is nice. There's a lot of beautiful LED lighting right here in the cabin. You can close this vent, and there's also a little mirror here if you want to kind of check your makeup before you go somewhere. You can see there's even speakers here in the ceiling. There's suede Alcantara. This grab handle here is lined in leather. So it's all, the details are pretty nice, but it just doesn't wow you as much as it should in this segment. And legroom is actually a little bit tight. It's pretty comparable to the last Genesis G90, but forget it if you're going to compare it to the new S-Class that just has a much more extravagant backseat area. So it has been a few years since I did a review on the Lexus LS 500. Remember, this generation came out back in 2018, and the LS has long been known for offering a lot of luxury, a lot of technology, a lot of creamy smoothness at a price that undercuts its Germans, and unlike its German rivals, this is one reliable luxury car. So this is a car that you can essentially count on, because remember, it's a Toyota, it's a Lexus product. These are built to last. This essentially forced the German model manufacturers to build better quality cars, more reliable cars during its time when this car came out over 30 years ago. Now, the sad thing about the LS is this car definitely has fallen behind. I mean, when it first came out, it was kind of already falling behind in terms of the technology. The fact that Lexus got rid of the V8 really pissed off a few purists out there, but this twin-turbo V6 did get some updates in terms of the transmission tuning. The 10-speed auto got slightly new tuning this year, so Lexus promises it's smoother. The ride quality, they say, also is smoother because of retuned suspension damping, and we also have an air suspension on this one here that does a better job of raising and lowering the car up even quicker than the previous generation did. So obviously, Lexus has done a good job here with making this car feel a little bit more, up to date. Now, the first thing I do want to test out is the 0 to 60 performance of this vehicle, because I never tested that before. This thing's quick. And on that first run, I got 0 to 60 in 6.07 seconds. That is about a second and a half slower than Lexus's claim. Now, I think the traction control was definitely cutting the power a little bit. I noticed that it kind of lagged initially at launch, so I'm going to go ahead and obviously retest that, because I think I can get this under or into the low 5-second mark, if not under 5 seconds. That seems really dreadfully slow. And remember, the model that I'm driving is the rear-wheel drive model. The rear-wheel drive model isn't going to necessarily put the power down quite as well as the all-wheel drive version. I don't think this car has launch control, but we do have, of course, slightly lighter curb weight. This car weighs in at around 4,700 pounds, so it's about 200 pounds lighter versus the all-wheel drive version of this car. So it is obviously going to be a little bit faster or a little bit slower off the line because you can't put that power down, but in the long run, the rear drive car should be quicker. All right, the traction control is switched off. Let's go ahead and try another launch. Better launch there. And I got 5.5 seconds there, so that's with the traction control off. Slight wheel spin on this model, obviously because of the fact that it's rear-wheel drive, but smooth power, lots of smooth power. It's exactly what I expect in a vehicle like this. Very little complaints there. I like the way the engine pulls also. It has plenty of torque, and it's the quick shifting 10-speed. It's a great transmission for this vehicle. Those of you who prefer the V8 will probably still miss the V8, but I have to say the power is very effective, but still about a second slower than what Lexus is claiming. 5.5 is probably the best that you're gonna do for something like this. It is a big, heavy luxury sedan, of course. So of course, 0 to 60 numbers are one thing, but the overall feel of this car is it gives you effortless acceleration, and that's really what you're looking for in a luxury sedan like this. Yes, it's not as fast as some of the V8 entries. In fact, this is the only powertrain that you continue to offer with a gas engine. Lexus also offers a hybrid model, but the hybrid version is slower than this car even further because it's not a twin-turbo V6. It's a naturally aspirated V6 with 3 electric motors. It's also not a plug-in hybrid. Lexus, I was hoping, would eventually add maybe like RAV4 Prime engine technology to it, where you get a bigger battery pack, some electric-only range. You know, that model should have 500 horsepower at least to compete with its German rivals, but sadly that's not the case. That model has less power than this one here, but you know, 416 horsepower is certainly nothing to sneeze at with this vehicle. Really love this transmission. It's just snappy, quick, responsive, and right at around 1600 RPM, it just gets into the meat of the torque curve of this engine, and it's just fantastic. I like the speed. This is going to be plenty of power for most people, and you just get that buttery smoothness, just not necessarily the sound. Now, just driving the LS on some back roads, Lexus did retune the suspension. Now, my Tester is not an F-Sport model. I have it in Sport Plus setting right now. The steering is pretty light, yet reasonably quick. It's very numb and devoid of feel. But you do notice that this car can hustle pretty well. This is a big vehicle. It weighs a lot, but Lexus has done a good job here with tuning the overall chassis dynamics. This is not the sportiest driving entry in the segment, but it's certainly very competent. And you don't buy a vehicle that's like this, that's going for it to be super sporty. I mean, the Mercedes is not super sporty. The BMW is probably the sportiest. It's really going to be the Porsche Panamera that's going to be the most sportiest model. But this can certainly hold its own. This is certainly a little bit more planted than the last Genesis G90 that I tested. This is right with the Genesis. In terms of direct competition, I'd say this puts it right in the line of fire with the Genesis G90. They both kind of have the same kind of feel to them. And in terms of the visibility, just driving it normally, you can see out of it pretty well. I love this new digital rear view mirror, which gives you a nice big view of what's behind you without it's an unobstructed view. I'm sitting here right now getting a massage from these massaging seats. The seat cooler also works well. The seats are really comfortable and supportive. If there's anything that really kind of just bothers me with this interior, it's the tech. It just feels super dated. I mean, I have a instrument panel screen here that is digital, but it's also smaller than like a Hyundai Elantra. I can get a bigger digital screen in a Hyundai Elantra and a Honda Civic. So that's very confusing to me that Lexus didn't want to update this with a much larger screen. And the 12.3-inch Lexus Inform system here is the older system. They did finally add wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. They also pushed the screen out forward so you can kind of touch it now, because it is a touch screen now, so it's improved, but it just feels very dated. This is where the car definitely feels very dated and very old school. But the driving dynamics are still, plenty to like. In terms of the driver assistance tech, this does not have that Lexus drive partner, the hands-free drive assistance, what they call it Lexus Teammate. That is simply not available yet. That will be coming toward the end of the year. I did get a chance to briefly drive that vehicle prototype when I was at their headquarters in Plano, Texas, here in the US. And the system worked okay, but I didn't particularly like how Teammate forces you to put your hands back on the wheel every few minutes just to remind the system that you're there. I much prefer the way Cadillac does it, where it's just, it tells you when to take your hands off to put your hands back on the wheel when it can't drive, as opposed to having you do it just to make sure that you're alert and present. When it's watching your face, it shouldn't have to do that. So this one here has the older system. It works okay. It still annoyingly will beep at times, but you do have lane keep assist. It doesn't change lanes for you automatically. It does have low speed follow for the adaptive cruise control, automatic emergency braking. I mean, the ride is very smooth and comfortable, yet sporty. So they did fix the ride quality of the pre-refreshed model. Those ones had a little bit more jitteriness in the suspension, especially if you got the ones with the big wheels like my Tester has. And I definitely get a sense that I'm driving a car that's more fancy than any Camry, than any Avalon, and such, because of obviously the rear drive dynamics of this car. But there's also something about it that's missing a certain wow factor that I expect from today's modern cars, especially like a full-size flagship sedan. You just expect it to be a little bit more, and this car is sorely lacking in it. Now, granted, it is less expensive than its competitors, but I just drove the new S-Class, and it just blows this car away in terms of wow factor, in terms of technology, in terms of premiumness. Although the Lexus still has its own uniqueness to it, it's just, you know, it's going to come at a cost. Yes, this is a lot less expensive, but it's a little bit more boring and a little bit more like yesterday and old man in the way it feels. And that's just kind of how it is. Now, in terms of fuel economy, I've been averaging in my weeks worth of testing around 19.6 miles to the gallon, which isn't bad. It's rated at 1829. I imagine the hybrid model will obviously get better gas mileage, so get that if you really want better fuel economy. But really, this car gets me excited to see what Lexus is going to do, because, you know, Acura and Infiniti both killed off their flagship luxury sedans. So really the only one is now Lexus, and of course there's the Genesis G90, which is a compelling alternative to this car if you're trying to save money compared to the German rivals. But I'd argue that, you know, people who are spending six figures, I mean, this car is six figures with the options that it has, you want the best technology, and I know Lexus is capable of delivering that. And even with this refreshed LS, it drives nice, it's very reliable, it's bulletproof, it's well built, it's comfortable, it's quiet. There is something missing about it, a certain wow factor that's going to keep younger buyers away from the Lexus showrooms in this type of vehicle, which some of you may say, you're not going to buy this type of vehicle, younger buyers aren't going to buy this type of vehicle. Well, the thing is some of them do, and some of them can afford this kind of car. And this is what Lexus needs. They need to attract those buyers into showrooms if they want this brand to continue to elevate themselves. Now, when I first drove the new Lexus LS about 4 years ago in San Francisco, I was relatively impressed with the car, although some of the tech in it definitely was already showing its age. So for 2021, Lexus basically fixed the tech problem, which was moving the screen forward, giving us a touchscreen, finally adding Android Auto and Apple CarPlay as standard. However, in this segment, it really tends to move fast. I just drove the new S-Class, and it really, again, shows off just how dated the Lexus LS is. Now, of course, if you compare it to something a little bit more comparable to it, which is the Genesis G90, there are certain elements about the LS that I like. I like the twin turbo engine in this vehicle a lot. I like the 10-speed transmission. I like the ride quality. I like the high quality feel of it, and it just feels like a tank, like it's going to last a long time. However, a lot of vehicles, especially the Genesis, continues to also feel that way. And while, you know, I like what Lexus has done here with the changes, there's still a lot of features, a lot of aspects of the LS that make it feel like yesterday's technology. Obviously, I've seen the newest Lexus interface in the new NX. That interface should be making it to this vehicle, hopefully for the next generation. And if you guys are looking for a hybrid option, the hybrid is probably something I would skip because it's not a plug-in hybrid. It doesn't offer better performance versus this gas V6. And while this one here, my weeks worth of testing got around just under 20 miles to the gallon, decent fuel economy, there's just something about this car that isn't going to appeal, in my opinion, to younger buyers. And that's really what Lexus needs to be doing here. This car needs to wow me with technology. It certainly wows you with build quality and luxury that you expect from Lexus, but it just doesn't wow you with the tech. And when you can sit inside a car like a Honda Civic or a Hyundai Elantra and it has a more impressive looking dash interface with larger screens or just as large screens, that's really a problem. So I would like to see Lexus obviously do something for the next generation. I'm hoping they're just going to make it fully electric if they're going to keep something like this around, because the LS is certainly still a decent deal. This car starts at around $76,000 plus destination. You're looking at around $77,000. Add around $3,200 if you guys want all-wheel drive. The hybrid model is going to cost you a little bit more. My tester here, of course, with all the options like the executive luxury package, the upgraded Mark Levinson system, the upgraded wheels, the paint color, the panoramic sunroof. This one here comes in at just over $101,000, which $100,000 is a lot of money, but keep in mind this is about 10 grand less than the starting price of an S-Class, and if you look at it from the base end, this car is about 30 grand less expensive than an S-Class. Really, only the Genesis G90 is about 5 grand cheaper than this car. And while the Genesis brand isn't quite as prestigious as Lexus, I'd argue that the Genesis has better tech in it and a pretty similar overall driving experience, and you can still continue to get the Genesis, I believe, with a V8 engine. Well, with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2021 Lexus LS 500. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.